Everybody's ready? I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Village of Bartlett, Counties of Cook, DuPage, and Kane, to order at 7:02 p.m. Please call the roll.
Bob Picaro. Charlie DeVoe.
Here.
Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Julie Kapitakakis.
Here.
George Koziel.
Here.
John Miasso.
Here.
Michelle Sarwas.
Here.
Mike Worden.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the September 1st meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by George, seconded by John. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe.
Yes.
Mark Hopkins.
Yes.
Julie Kapitakakis.
Yes.
George Koziel.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Michelle Sarwas.
Yes.
Mike Worden.
Yes. Next item would be the public forum. Is there anybody in the audience that has anything not related to what's on our agenda that you'd like to address to the board? Okay. First case on the agenda, case number 2209, Townhomes of the Grasslands, at the Grasslands, Phase 2. Are the petitioners present? Please come up to the microphone. Anyone that's going to speak, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? For the record, please state your name and address.
Dan Olson. My address is 36W601 Lancaster Road in St. Charles, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
What we have tonight is just, we have preliminary plat approval, as you're aware, for all of our development out there. This is phase 2 of our subdivision. This is consists of townhomes. I don't have the numbers with me. 27 lots, 116 townhome units, and 23 buildings on 70 acres. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Did we have the newspaper?
This is not a public hearing.
Okay.
So I do want to state that this is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat and preliminary PUD plan that were previously approved by the village board. It's also in compliance with the development agreement. The only new thing that you never saw as part of the preliminary approval were building elevations. There was not a builder selected at that time, so there have been building elevations submitted to you for the first time in this packet. You want to go to the building elevations? Go to the rendering.
Okay, and since this is kind of new for zoning board members, how does that compare with typical elevations, something like this?
So we had told the builder that we have not approved anything that had more than, that needed to have at least 50% brick on the front elevation. They came in with the, they initially submitted all vinyl siding. So we told them we didn't think that would get a positive recommendation from this commission, knowing some of the plan commissioners. So this is what they came back with. They did increase the size of their balconies over the rear garages as well. Some of their other models that they have in the suburbs are significantly smaller.
Mark, this is more in your expertise.
So does this, the elevations run with this approval then?
Yes.
If we approve this, they're bound by the elevations and plans that were submitted?
Correct.
Okay. All right. In general, we're not a body that is an architectural design review. We endorse what the staff coordinates with the, and we ask certain questions having to do with the impact on neighbors more than anything else, but we're not a design commission. You know, the Plan Commission reviews the plan versus the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance, and then looks for the nuances and quirks where a plan can fail or succeed. And so we've already done a preliminary plan review on this. So if they come in without substantial changes and that they're substantially in compliance with the first round, there's little for us to review.
And in this case, it's an improvement over last time because of the facade. Right.
Right, we didn't see anything last time. So we wouldn't be a group that would say, well, we'd rather have larger windows, or we like red front doors or something, right? Or we don't like that's not what we're about.
Anyone else?
Is there a colored picture of the back of the building, or just black and white rendering?
They just did black and white.
Okay,
building
I see it in our,
Usually we only get a rendering of one side.
okay.
I'd imagine the color schemes would carry through to the back.
So to that end, I would, if they're, I think, probably good to go.
This is pretty cut and dried.
Pretty cut and dry.
Okay, so we don't have to open anything either.
No.
Just ask, any recommendations from the board?
Staff does recommend approval, subject to the conditions and findings of fact in the staff report.
Okay,
So if there's a motion, ideally, you would say, make a motion to approve the final subdivision PUD plat and the final PUD plan according to staff's recommendations.
does anybody want to so move?
So moved.
So moved by John. Second. Seconded by Michelle. Any further discussion?
I just like to compliment it, looks beautiful. Love
Yes,
the
it
brick.
does.
Brick is very attractive.
Good luck with everything. Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Julie Kapitakakis,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Michelle Sarwas,
Yes.
Mike Werden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Stay in touch with Christie to find out when it's on the board agenda. Next item on the agenda, case number 2213, 2250 Graham Street. Are the petitioners present? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you are about to give is only the whole truth?
Yes.
Go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is David Schaefer. Address is 2500 South Highland Avenue, number 340 in Lombard, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
I'm the architect for this project where are proposing to take an existing trailer storage facility and build 2 new buildings on it. Total is just a little bit shy of 50,000 square feet. So each building is about 25,000 square feet, where the new owner is proposing to do truck repair inside the facility. And then the back of the lot would be for trailer storage. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to offer up a little background on this. Back in 2003, the village of Bartlett entered into an annexation agreement for this 186-acre property known as Bluff City Industrial Park. As part of that, there are a very specific list of uses that are permitted, special uses, and prohibited uses, both on the surface and subterranean uses for when the mining operations cease. While we've looked at that, over time, We are questioning some of the reasons why some uses were listed as prohibited versus special. And this petitioner came in asking to do truck repair, which is listed as prohibited in the industrial park. Most of our industrial parks would have listed it as a special use. So because of that, they're having to do amendments to the industrial parks PUD plan, the annexation agreement, the special use for their planned unit development. It really opened up a lot of modifications that we had to make for this use, which would normally just have been a straight special use permit application before you. So because of that, that's why this is a huge litany of requests. So staff is recommending approval of this. If you want to go to the building elevations.
Pretty much some of this, though, is bringing it in alignment with what's going on in 2022.
Exactly. So the annexation agreement for this development did have very generic design guidelines, which were if you had a metal building, the front had to have some masonry on it, which is why the front building, it's kind of hard to tell on here, it does have masonry block on the front elevation.
Didn't the report say split face CMU?
Yes, that technically qualifies as masonry according to their development, their annexation agreement.
Okay.
All right.
It's really the first building that we're having out there. If you drive out there, it's not your typical like business park like what you see in Brewster Creek or even what's going on in Blue Heron.
Okay. Any comments?
No.
Looks like another,
We might be a little bit more sensitive had this property not been surrounded by what it's surrounded by, right? And we might have had a little bit more response that says, well, then let's have the architecture be like the architecture in the other parts of the business park. But it is surrounded, right, and is far from public view. And staff made it clear that the building is surrounded by landscape.
There is landscaping. They have more landscaping than what is required for the agreement. So I am going with it, and it's now required.
Amen, amen. So everything taken together, it seems absolutely appropriate to me.
we like to see things that exceed what we were expecting. That doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Rarely happens.
This is a public hearing, too.
Okay, so we need to ask for the,
We need to open, yeah, we need the, do you have the mailing cards, the receipts?
I didn't know I was supposed to bring them.
Okay, if you could just scan them in and bring me a copy.
Sure.
so the mailings, the newspapers and the signs, the mailings are forthcoming,
Yes.
and the others mark those exhibits B and C, then the mailings will still be A. Okay, at this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anybody in the audience have anything to say? Okay, any motions?
Move to approve?
Point of order, if that's okay. If we vote to approve, is our approval contingent upon getting the evidence of the mailings?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
So when you make your motion, again, staff's making their recommendation, their staff is recommending approval based on the conditions and findings of fact outlined in your staff report.
Okay.
does anybody want to so move?
I move to approve?
Okay, John votes to approve. There's a motion on the floor. At this point, I shall close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by George. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes?
Julie Kapatakakis,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Michelle Sarwas,
Yes.
Mike Worden.
Yes. Okay, once again, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the board. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
New business, old business, rules of procedure.
I know there is one typo where it still says P and C If we can get a motion to approve it with that change. You have to wear that. If you find anything else, let me know.
Are you looking for any discussion, Christie, on this?
I'm hoping that that someone makes a motion to adopt this, so I can have this off my old business list.
I have one comment, and I'm not asking for any kind of modification, only that I'm real uncomfortable with the Section 7 subpoenas. And if we adopt this, I would ask for a session with Mr. Mraz so that he could explain really what the mechanics of that are and, what that would look like in operation.
Okay. I had a brief conversation with him, or a brief in attorney speak, conversation with him about it. And it's basically, you have to allow due process, and that covers us for due process. If someone says there's someone they want, that they think their testimony has value to the discussion, but it cannot be someone that they want to hire. It's honestly someone that they're trying to get to come to the meeting basically against their will to testify one way or the other. Brian said the odds of this ever happening are pretty much slim to none, but we need to have something in so that we can say that there's due process, because if they go through the procedure, they don't show up to the subpoena, then we have to go through the court system.
So if that were to arise and in a public setting, in the midst of a hearing, would we then continue the meeting from that point on so that we could have counsel present?
You would continue the meeting, yes. You would continue it. We would definitely have Brian there. Typically, we would know if something.
You would know in advance?
We would know in advance.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's probably good. So if it comes up without Brian here, we could say continue time.
Yes.
Okay.
But you would be planning in advance, if possible, to have Brian here on a night that might be.
If we have something that we think is going to be really controversial, we would have Brian in attendance. Like when we had him here for the massage text language.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we do monitor Facebook posts and activity like that to see if there is something that we think is going to be a controversial issue.
Explosion.
Well, since I've been such a pain in the rear end for this whole procedure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the planning and zoning rules of procedure as it appears in the redlined PDF.
You wanted one?
Once we find the typo.
Once we find the typo, yes.
Okay.
You know where the typo is. I told you where the typo
I
P&Z
know.
Commission under A1, under Section 7.
What was that?
Is it under A1 in Section 7? P&Z Commission?
I believe so.
So what page is that?
Page 13 of 16?
Page 13. Section F.
So these will be the procedures forever until we all retire or turn the side, huh?
Until anyone decides we need to amend them permanently, yes.
Although we have the authority by these rules of procedure to modify the rules of procedure at any time in the meeting, right?
Correct.
Okay.
As long as it's not a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
We're out here.
Very good. Okay, any further discussion? Mark has
Need a motion.
made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Charlie DeVoe,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Julie Kapidakakis,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Michelle Saros,
Yes.
Mike Worden.
Yes. Okay. Christie, you should be very happy.
Yes. Brian will be very happy.
There was nothing controversial tonight. I like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So get ready.
Too smooth, yeah.
No
what's coming?
testimony or,
So next month, we are going to have a minimum of 3 cases. One of them is a simple 2-lot re-subdivision out in Southwind Business Park at 25 and West Bartlett Road. On one of those lots is a proposed self-storage facility that is requesting a floor area ratio variation. There will be neighbors notified in South Elgin. There's a townhome development on the opposite side of the road that would be facing that. So I think there is potential to have public coming for that one. And we will have a text amendment on our temporary sign regulations as they pertain to political signage.
What does that mean?
So right now, we have a list of rules for temporary signs, and then there's an exception for political signs. And it is unconstitutional to have your signage regulating content. And so because we differentiate political signage, which would be a political message, from other temporary signs, that's unconstitutional. So we're trying to clean that up.
I'm into compliance with a Supreme Court ruling.
Yes.
There we go. I like that.
So we're trying to get that taken care of before the next local election, so.
Sounds like a plan. You know, I like this idea of talking about legal protections and stuff like that. Years ago, when we had the bail fill fight, that's how I found out what happens with Freedom of Information Act, because somebody showed up on my doorstep, and I had no idea, and she had FOIA'd information to see who was on the commission, to see who was going to be voting on things. And so she came wanting me to sign a petition. I said, I can't sign a petition, I'm supposed to hear your case.
Wow.
But, so.
We should not have, the village did not give out your address. I'm sure it was just the list of commissioner names, and they must have researched it, because we redact everything.
But that's how I found out. She had gotten information at the village hall, that's all I know, that was so long ago. So I like the idea of this talk about Brian protecting us in the subpoena.
I think we're the only planning and zoning commission that has that section in there, but he was insistent.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
So I guess this is about it. Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Michelle, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Okay. Good meeting tonight.
Wow, 3 items.